Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the peak-to-peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast. Today, I've got an audio library segment for you featuring columns from the June 16th, 2025 edition of the Mountaineer. Before we get into the columns, though, it's time for our top story today, brought to you by Brittany Wagner.
Our top story today comes from Christopher Kelly. Is childcare an NDDA issue? The Netherlands Downtown Development Authority met on Wednesday, June 11th, 2025, to finalize an update of their bylaws. The NDDA first heard an update from Stephen Lefevre, Teens Inc. Executive Director, about the upcoming New Explorers Childcare Center planned for construction at 750 West 5th Street. There's not enough public funding, not enough grant funding to do it without the support of the local community, Lefevre said. Fortunately, we have been successful at raising funds to get us to this point, but as operations ramp up and we keep going, we're going to need donations and grants. The NDDA thanked Lefevre for his presentation and heard public comment, but no action was made in terms of the authority financially supporting the Teens Inc. childcare project. You can read the full story in this week's Mountaineer or at themountaineer.com.
Thank you, Brittany, for giving us our top story. And now, columns from the June 16th, 2025 edition of the Mountaineer. Discovery of the first gold lode in Colorado. Brian Algers, PGO. Central City. The first gold vein was discovered in the Rocky Mountains east of what would become Central City on May 6, 1859, 166 years ago. John H. Gregory was an experienced miner who had learned how to prospect for gold in Georgia in 1827. He had lost all his money in the stock market crash of 1857, so in 1858 he left his wife and kids in Georgia to seek his fortune in the gold fields of British Columbia. On his way to Canada, Gregory ran out of money in Lawrence, Kansas, and was forced to take a job driving a mule train to Fort Laramie in Wyoming. While there, during the summer of 1858, he learned of the gold discoveries in the foothills of the Snowy Range near what would become Denver. The spring is backward, and the snow is long on leaving the mountains. J. M. Fox, May 8, 1959, Denver City, Kansas Territory. Gregory decided to set out during the early winter months of 1859 to pan every stream gully emanating from the Rocky Mountain Range front southwards towards Denver from Fort Laramie. For the next 4 months, he had little luck until he reached what was then called the Vasquez Fork of the South Platte River, now Clear Creek. By himself, he followed the gold showings in the river gravel up the branches of the river, deep into the uncharted wilderness of the Snowy Range Mountains, close to what he felt was the source of the gold in the creek. But before he could prospect the area further, a spring snowstorm forced him to seek shelter on the lee side of a big boulder next to 2 small spruce trees. He hollowed out a spot under the trees with his gold pan and hunkered down to wait out the spring snow under his bearskin coat. 2 days later, Gregory emerged from his burrow to waist-deep snow. The thick, deep spring snow had obscured all the local landmarks, making it impossible for him to know exactly where he was, let alone find the source of the gold in the stream. He was cold, and had eaten the last of his deer meat while waiting out the storm, so he was forced to leave his discovery and fight his way through the snow, rocks, and fallen timber back to town for supplies. He was too tired and weak to even shoot a rabbit for food along the way. After a few days, he finally reached a row of cabins at the base of the mountains, called Arapahoe, near the present site of Golden. Lacking any money, he drifted into the local saloon, hoping to find someone who would buy him a drink. The improvised bar at the saloon in Arapahoe consisted of a wooden plank laid across a couple of crates and 2 tin cups to share shots of homemade Taos Lightning. Taos Lightning was a distilled corn beverage, or corn whiskey, from New Mexico that struck hard, fast, and often, and it was said that it tasted so bad that anyone who drank more than 1 cup of the stuff never lived long enough to become addicted. In the saloon, he met a clean-cut man, David K. Wall, who had a large walrus mustache. Wall gave him $1 so he could buy some food. Wall was a farmer who had staked out a homestead east of town. After eating, Gregory walked down the street to a 2-doored cabin that served as a hotel. He had spent the $1 he was given to buy a meal, so he convinced the owner of the hotel to let him sleep on the floor under his bearskin robe for free. After a few days of reparation, Gregory set out to find Wall's farm and try to convince him to provide him with some supplies in exchange for a portion of what he had discovered, typically referred to as a grubstake agreement. Wall was more interested in buying a cow for his farm, but he trusted Gregory enough to agree to grubstake his endeavor only if he brought along his greenhorn friends from Indiana, who don't know gold from beans, except they would probably try to fry both of them in a pan. The greenhorns included Wilkinson, Wilkes, and Archibald, Arch, Defries, John and Charles Ziegler, William Fouts from Missouri, and 3 others. The night before they started out, the Ziegler brothers, who had the most money, took everyone out to the saloon in Arapahoe for drinks. One drink led to another, and before they knew it, Charles Ziegler had revealed their scheme to Dr. D. Joseph Casto, W. H. Bates, and 5 others from Iowa, who were equipped with a mule and 2-wheeled wagon. Dr. Casto, a former Baptist divinity student, and his group could not get their supplies assembled by the next morning, so Gregory drew them a crude map, and they all agreed to meet at the site later the next day. They shook hands and toasted the agreement by sharing 2 tin cups of Taos Lightning. Around noon the next day, May 6, 1859, Gregory and his ragtag party of greenhorns arrived at the bottom of the wooded gully where he had weathered the snowstorm a week earlier. Gregory and Wilkes Defries scrambled through patches of snow, aspen leaves, and pine needles about 200 feet up the south side of the gulch, looking for the Blossom Rock, or source of the gold in the river below. The ground was still frozen, but they managed to scrape up enough dirt from a rock outcropping Gregory said looked just like the burnt quartz of the Georgia mines I worked in. The 2 men returned to the creek and proceeded to pan the dirt with the others. They were able to pan about $4 in gold, about 0.2 ounces, from that first pan of decomposed quartz vein material. This little group had discovered the first lode gold, the Cornish term for vein gold, found in the territory. They named it the Gregory Lode. There were no mining claim laws in this wilderness, so Gregory and the group felt that it would be fairest if every man could claim a piece of the vein, as was typical in the California goldfields. They determined that each mining claim would be 50 feet wide and extend 100 feet along the ledge or outcrop of the vein. Each man would get 1 mining claim along the ledge, and Gregory, the discoverer, would receive an additional claim. The ground was still frozen, so for the next 3 days the men constructed sluice boxes and began to improve their crude sleeping quarters. That evening, who should come struggling up the timber-filled gully but Dr. Casto, Colonel Bates, a mule, a cart, and the 5 other greenhorns from Iowa they had met at the saloon in Arapahoe. By the 1st of June, over 400 men poured into the gulch, and during the summer of 1859, over 30,000 people streamed into the Gregory Discovery Site, known as Mountain City. Central City and Black Hawk were soon established west and east of Mountain City. To find the references for this article, be sure to head to the digital edition on the Mountaineer website. Life in Nature. The Stash by James Dewalt. Rocky Mountain National Park. As we get closer to summer, we're starting to see more of this year's newest additions to the Wild Kingdom. Foxes and coyotes have already brought their litters into the world, and in another month or so, the kits and pups will be on their own. Late May and early June brings the next round from the feature of this week's article, the deer family. Baby deer are well known as fawns, and baby moose and elk share the term calves for their offspring. These wobbly little wonders are quite adorable to watch as they make their way about the wide new world. That said, the wandering is typically done under the watchful eyes of Mama, which leads me to the heart of the article, an interesting tactic utilized by 2 of the 3 members of the family, deer and elk: the stashing of their babies. Stashing a fawn or elk calf is a tactic where a mother finds a secluded place to keep her offspring while she grazes. It is intended to be a way to protect the babies from predation. While it might seem that the baby would be far more vulnerable, it allows the mother to lure a potential predator away from the baby before the predator can spot it. This hiding spot can be under a bush or shrub, or in the case of the high treeless alpine tundra, a place as simple as a shallow divot in the ground, as seen in this week's image. The babies instinctively know to stay completely still and quiet while Mama is away. Adding to the success of the stash are the well-known spots on fawns and elk calves, which help to provide camouflage for the little ones. By the end of their first summer, they are no longer stashed and thus grow out of the spots. Fawns and elk calves have also evolved to have only a very faint scent. This helps to deter predators as well, as then the babes are harder to track. Part of the effectiveness of stashing is that the mothers can spend up to a few hours at a time away from their offspring, thus minimizing the possibility that their own scent might rub off on the babies during this vulnerable time. The moms will return every so often to nurse, but in general will keep their distance. That said, they typically tend to stay within 100 yards or so, never too far, and they never truly abandon their young. It is imperative to understand this behavior. Sadly, it is not uncommon for unknowing humans to come across a stashed fawn or calf, not see a mother nearby, and assume the babe has been left behind. The story usually ends with the would-be rescuers scooping up the baby and taking it to an animal shelter, thus separating mother and child for life. This likely ends up with the calf or fawn living its life in captivity. At this young age, the baby will imprint too much on humans and won't ever successfully reintegrate to a herd. Interestingly, while moose babies are also stashed, it is done to a much lesser degree, and Mama is never as far away as deer and elk mothers. It is assumed that since moose are not herd animals, their independent life leads toward the mother being far more protective of her offspring. Rather than distracting a predator away, it is likely that in this scenario, a predator wants nothing to do with an adult moose to begin with, thus leaving the mother to rely on sheer aggression to protect her young, creating the need for her to stay close. As most here in the Peak-to-Peak region are well aware, a mama moose is statistically the most dangerous and aggressive animal in the state, so it pays to be very alert when hiking or biking this time of the year, especially if you are with a dog. It is relatively safe to assume that if you encounter a female moose, a baby or yearling is nearby. Even if one isn't present or at least within viewing distance, you need to keep your distance. I mentioned earlier that the stashed baby will stay still and silent, but the elk calf image I chose to couple with this article slightly belies this statement. In this case, the calf was stashed quite near a tundra trail that was fairly heavily trafficked by humans. It was quite a successful stash, as the baby wasn't noticed at all until the mother, grazing well over 100 yards away, began to head back to the calf to nurse. It is quite likely that, had it not been for the mother's calls as she made her way back, causing the baby to rise, it would have remained there, within yards of countless humans, completely undetected, thus proving the amazing efficacy of a very simple tactic of survival in the wild. To see the image paired with this article, be sure to check out the digital edition of this article on the Mountaineer website. For additional information about James Dewalt photography, check out jamesdewaltphotography.com. Before we head into our next article, a quick break. And now, some promotional announcements brought to you by the Mountaineer.
Looking for a unique advertising opportunity? The Mountaineer podcast may be a perfect fit for you. Our podcast reaches local listeners at least 3 days each week. We can create your podcast commercial for you, or you can submit your own. Contact Amanda McDonald for additional information. Her email is adsales@themountaineer.com, and her cell is 720-960-2900. Have you checked out the Mountaineer YouTube lately? We are very excited to have a videographer intern this spring, as well as Clementine Miller, who's been working hard to record some of our local events and meetings to share with you. Go check it out on the Mountaineer YouTube. Have you seen our 2024 Peak to Peak Visitors Guide? We have just launched our 2025 Media Kit for the next guide. Go to our website and click on Advertise to see the full media kit there. Spring is springing, and we all know that means the flowers will be popping out all over the place, reminding us of beautiful art. That also means it's time to start thinking about the 2025 studio tour. Go to our website and click on special sections to view the 2024 guide and prepare yourself for this year's edition.
Welcome back. Let's get into the next article. Mountain Spirit Astrology, Summer Solstice, by Karen Anderson. The glorious golden gateway to summer opens with the solstice. This elegant gateway to paradise in the mountains is the start of the astrological sign of Cancer, the archetypal mother goddess, one of the 4 great turning points of the year, bringing the longest days. The sign of Cancer directs our attention to families, children, and friends. The large, socially aware planet Jupiter spends 1 year in each sign and has just entered Cancer, its exaltation, its favorite position. Fortune favors Cancer and the other 2 water signs, Scorpio and Pisces, as well. Both intuitively and intellectually, the awareness that we are all interconnected and included will grow over the year ahead. Aries. Driven Saturn and visionary Neptune have both broached Aries, activated by socially aware Jupiter, now in nurturing Cancer. Projects that will allow civilization to move forward will be designed by you. Chiron of Healing continues in your sign as you release past wounds. Taurus. Lovely Venus, your guide, continues in Taurus for a month, bringing your creativity to new heights. Cancer is now bringing in the summer solstice, and you work ingeniously with this sign, currently enhanced with lucky Jupiter. This delicious summer is now beckoning to you. Gemini. As the summer opens, both the Sun and your guide, Mercury, are visiting intuitive Cancer for a month, enlivening you with ideas about how to bring your finances forward. Over the course of this new season, you have enthusiasm as you blend your thoughts and feelings. Cancer. Happy birthday to you! The Sun is now in your sign for a festive month. While the Sun is visiting you for 4 weeks, lucky Jupiter is now with you for a whole year. Every 12 years, this lucky planet is in your sign, his favorite, so this is the time for expansive plans. Leo. The Moon Children are bringing in the summer solstice. After that, the summer lions take over the stars and lead the zodiac into the heart of the season. Finish up tasks from the last time you ruled the known world, your last birthday, and prepare for your celebrations ahead. Virgo. The summer solstice brings one of your favorites, Cancer, front and center. Intuition and action combine well for you, especially now, with Mars in Virgo. Until the beginning of August, the action planet of the heavens is in your sign, promoting your vitality and your life energy. Libra. Balance is called upon for the social sign of Libra. Try using a combination of willpower and charm with those around you. Lucky breaks in regards to work arise over the next year for you. Fortunately, your astrological symbol is the scales of justice, promoting life harmony. Scorpio. Not only is the Sun in Cancer, which tends toward a harmonious month for you, but lucky Jupiter, who prolongs the luck for water signs for an entire year. This good fortune favors projects including physical travel and education, allowing the mind to travel and expand. Sagittarius. By Jove, lucky Jupiter is your guiding planet as you rotate through the stars. The Lord of the Rings spends 1 year in each sign and has just entered his favorite place, the sign of Cancer. This position knows how to bring society and civilization to civilized places. Capricorn. The Sun has entered Cancer, your opposite sign of partnership. Prepare to be active, attractive, and in demand. You are the hardest working people in the zodiac, but now you need to slide into a work hard, play hard mode during the month ahead to enjoy the summer season. Aquarius. The month ahead is full of accomplishments for Aquarius. The summer solstice signals a segment of time in which you can work hard and produce the results that you want. Powerful Pluto is now in your sign, so you may find yourself in positions of leadership. Pisces. Summer solstice and summer vacation for Pisces. The taskmaster of the zodiac, Saturn, has been visiting you for 2 years, straightening out your life. You have the summer off, so have fun and expand your future, because Saturn will have you back to work in September. Karen Anderson is available for readings at 303-258-7258. The Alphas Are Coming by Amy Skinner, MA, LPC, NCC, ACS, RPTS. Peak to peak. I'm scared we're all gonna die, Emma whispered. The 5-year-old was creating an elaborate scene in the playroom with 2 dollhouses, numerous pieces of furniture, a variety of trees, people of all shapes and sizes, cars, a fast one like my dad's, and animals big and small. At the moment, I couldn't tell if she was talking to me, to the characters in her story, or if she was acting like she was one of the dolls. Who's going to die? I tentatively asked, hoping I was going in the right therapeutic direction. All of us. Emma looked up from arranging the toys and stared straight at me. Don't you know? The world's getting hot and making big storms, and it's going to get all of us. With that proclamation, Emma looked over the world she had taken the last 35 minutes to create, brought out the fire-breathing dragon puppet, and proceeded to destroy everything. In the end, nothing was standing upright, not even the small puppy in his doghouse. I'm done, she said, and we spent the next 5 minutes cleaning everything up. Emma, a member of Generation Alpha, generally considered to be born 2010 to 2024, but it hasn't been decided yet, came to counseling for help with anxiety. Although in a recent poll by Gallup and Walton Family Foundation, Generation Z, born between 1997 and 2012, reports the poorest mental health of any generation, it's predicted that Gen Alpha will likely experience higher levels of depression and anxiety. It used to be, when a young child brought up fears concerning the environment, I could assume it was a topic of conversation in their home. Especially in our community, environmental awareness and stewardship is a core value and often discussed while families are out on hikes or mountain bike rides. However, Y Pulse, a research team that focuses on the younger generations, reports that 87% of 13 to 15-year-olds believe it is up to their generation to stop climate change. Now, it's a regular topic in the play therapy room. I don't know what to do, proclaims Donna. All my kids' friends have phones, and I just don't want my son to have one yet. But all he talks about is how he needs a phone. He's 10. 10! I'm so tired of fighting with him. Common Sense Media's recent report shows 42% of U.S. kids have a phone by age 10, and 91% of 14-year-olds. Interestingly, Gen Alpha kids are the first generation to be immersed in technology since birth. It's estimated that 65% of Gen Alphas will work in technology jobs that do not exist today. So how do we address these issues? In the therapy room, we go back to the basics. Over the following sessions, Emma and I work to resource the people, animals, trees, and houses to face the dragon. Conversations about architecture, family habits, animal behaviors, the resiliency of nature, and learning what we can and cannot control filled the playroom as we played out the different outcomes. She ended counseling feeling empowered and ready to take on the environmental issues of her world. Donna's initial conversation turned into a few parent coaching sessions. I sat down with her and her husband to learn the values and habits of their family. We then put together a technology plan for everyone, not just their 10-year-old, which included conversations about phones, tablets, computers, and TV/streaming at home, school, work, in the car, on vacation, and at other people's homes. With some trial and error, the family was soon committed to the plan and feeling successful with the process and result. Mark McCrindle, who coined the term Generation Alpha, estimates that it will be the largest generation in the history of the world, with almost 2 billion by the end of 2025. Their passion for the environment and expertise in technology has the potential to change the world in incredible ways. The information about the Gallup and Walton Family Foundation poll came from Therapist.com. Who are the Gen Alphas in your life, and how might they benefit from your support? I'd love to hear your experiences at amy@peak2peakcounseling.com, 303-258-7454, and you can always find past articles at peak2peakcounseling.com or find us at facebook.com/peak-to-peak counseling services. And that's it for this audio library segment of the Mountaineer Podcast. I'll be back in a couple of days with another segment. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll down to the bottom of our homepage, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com to see a full archive of all of our episodes. Also head to the mtnear.com today to subscribe for more news from Peak to Peak and to check out options available for advertising and or column or podcast involvement. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your day.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.